How you doing, YouTube? Matt, Massive Beer Reviews, back with yet another review. A little bit of American-born Belgian double-ish aged in rum barrel time in the form of Lone Eagle Brewing's Belgian double aged in rum barrels. Yeah, Lone Eagle. I have done reviews from these guys before. These are probably some of the more one of the closer breweries to me. Here where I am in Jersey now, Lone Eagle is probably about 40 minutes south of me. I've been there before. I've done a couple of their beers before. And I like the brewery. They do a large gamut of beer styles. They just don't rest on their laurels and do the hazy stuff and a little bit of stout stuff. They do everything, you know, Kolsch's and Belgian-born stuff and fruited stuff and all that stuff. The head brewer comes from Dogfish Head, so it kind of makes sense that that's the case. But yeah, I dig them as a brewery. They have a nice tap room. I enjoy the beers that come out of them. They don't really get a lot of publicity as far as like the hip New Jersey breweries go, but I dig them. Anyway, I was down there the other day, and I knew they had this. They actually released this about a month before I went down there, and I was kind of like, man, please have this available down there, because I love Belgian beers, and I love rum barrel aged beers. So hopefully this one shows and proves. Let's dive into it. As far as what it says on here, Abbey Dubbel, aged in rum barrels. It's 7% alcohol by volume. Belgian style ale, aged in rum barrels. Back here it says our Abbey Dubbel that is brewed with rich caramel malts and then aged in rum barrels. It carries notes of caramel, plums, figs, rum, spices, and oak. Son, that's what I'm talking about. Label wise, their marketing is a little bit old school, as you can see by this label. But in this kind of bottle, this old fatty, almost like those German, what is it? God, Roche beer kind of. I forget the name of the brewery. It's kind of like that shaped bottle. That's super old school. Just a plain red cap, screen printing. It just kind of makes sense. That's how this is done. How it's labeled. How it's portrayed. So I kind of dig it. So yeah, let's see how this one goes. So. We're off to a good start, actually. Look at that pour. Just coming out kind of murky. A little bit lighter than what I'd want from a Belgian double, personally. But yeah, it's got a nice murkiness, or as I would say, the technical term, which would be doo-doo water. You know, just over an index finger. Pretty rocky head on the edges, dissipating relatively quick, neurotic bubbles throughout, just south of khaki. And she has a kind of washed out kind of iced tea color. Just nice murkiness, nice haziness to her, but a little bit lighter than I typically like my doubles to come in at. But it's close enough. It's close enough. Let's see what the nose has. Rum. Rum, not super hot. Not super aggressive. It's not like burning my nostrils. There's a nice sweet kind of Jamaican style buttery rumness in there. There's a little bit of sweetness, malty sweetness, maybe even like a Belgian candy sugar-esque kind of sweetness going on in there. There's a little bit of dark fruit in there. I mean, I wouldn't even go plummy. Maybe a little bit pruny more than anything else, but it's not that big. It's there. The sweetness of the malt, that fruitiness of that kind of Belgian yeast bits and pieces in the rum are pretty well balanced, but the rum's just above all that, leading the way. It smells a little light, a little bit weak for me to kind of get all hot and bothered over it. It's relatively fresh beer. You expect a little bit of heat, a little bit more robustness on that rum side of things. It just comes off a little bit kind of watered down. Kind of looks that way too. So hopefully she comes through in the taste. Cheers. Yeah. She is kind of, it's a little bit too weak just plain and simple. Just a little bit too weak across the board for me to kind of really get super excited about. The rum's the biggest component. There is a little bit of like evaporative heat to that, and that's by far and away the biggest component in the beer itself. You do get a little bit of those kind of rich red fruitiness from that Belgian yeast. It does come off a little bit pruny to me, but again, it's a little bit too watered down for me, for my liking. Same thing with the rich sweetness and the maltiness. It's there. There is a sweetness to it. There is a maltiness to it, but again, it just comes off a bit thin, a bit too weak for me. It tastes as almost the beer has been watered down slightly. That's kind of a bummer because, like I said, I was all hot and bothered. I was super excited to dive into it. You know, a place I can go pick up a rum barrel aged double 40 minutes away. That would be an awesome place to have in your kind of arsenal of places you could visit. But this one is just kind of like this missing all the marks. Doesn't come off much like a Belgian beer, like that Belgian Sol I talk about. Doesn't come off much like that. Again, it's being watered down. Let me rephrase that. I'm not saying it's watered down. Say it comes off as watered down. So it's going to miss that mark regardless, because even if it had that Belgian kind of soul, if it was that, but it was this week, it just wouldn't hit the mark anyway. So it doesn't have that Belgian soul I like to hanker on and kind of bang on every now and then. I think the balance between the rum in the way the kind of yeast plays and the way the malt portion of the beer plays are pretty well in balance. The only problem is they're at 2, and you're going to crank that up. You want to crank that to 8, 9, 10, or 11 when we give me a little bit of volume on that beer. But the balance is nice, but it's just there's little to balance. So that's kind of a bummer. I think that's pretty much it. If you bring this beer up a bit, prop it up a bit, give a little bit more heft, bring a little bit more to it, the way the balance is done, I think it would be a great beer if you leveled everything up and just kind of got it to a point where it made more sense, at least to me, as being a Belgian style double. It just comes off a little bit too muted, a little bit too watered down, a little bit too, for me to kind of get all hibbly-bibbly. So kind of a bummer, to be perfectly honest with you. Still dig the brewery. I love, and I've talked about this a couple times. I'm okay with this. You know, you buy a beer, you want it to be a home run, but not all of them are going to be home runs. But I would much rather breweries take a swing at styles and try to do something, that's just not a carbon copy paste what everybody else is trying to do. And how many places in the States do you know that try barrel-aged doubles? I don't know that many. So the fact to take the cut at it, I like that, I enjoy it. I just hope they take it and keep building upon it and tweak it and get it to where not just I want it to be, but I think a lot of people that would enjoy Belgian beers born in the United States, where they would want it to be. So let's talk about it. It's one of the better barrel-aged Belgian beers I've had in a while. Not really. Kind of, out on the outside looking in. Value and availability. I forget what I paid for it. I think it was less than $10. It could have been, I don't know, maybe right around $10. I forget. Brewery only, and leave you with, if you like what we like this. If you like Belgian beers, you like barrel-aged beers, and you want to know what American breweries are doing in that aspect, might not hit a home run, but I think it's worth picking up a bottle and splitting it with a friend just to kind of track where breweries are and where breweries are going. So if you like Belgian beers, you like barrel-aged Belgian beers, and you also like breweries in the United States trying to do those things and trying to do them and trying to get them to where they should be, it's worth picking up, because it's nice that breweries make cuts like these. And, you keep swinging, you're definitely going to hit a home run, especially if you practice enough. So there you go. Another review in the books. Down there if you want to talk about it. Massive Beers if you want to check me out doing the social media stuff. Beer Massive if you want to check me out doing the whole podcasting stuff. And hopefully you guys enjoyed the review. Hopefully enjoying a nice little barrel-aged jammer right now. And hope to see you next time. Cheers.